Hello, and thank you for your interest in Perma-Coat. Jeff Kennedy here for Perma-Coat Industries. Today we're going to show you the proper operating procedures for using our cartridge system. Our cartridge chemical is made up of a 1-to-1 hybrid polyurea. And although it is not indestructible, it is very strong and very durable. It's rated at 2,200 pounds per square inch at a 1/16 of an inch thickness. Okay guys, the first thing I want to talk to you about is the most important thing to talk about, and that's the safety of your spray man. There's no reason to cut corners in this area. There's no amount of money that's worth the safety of your spray man. First thing we need to do is we need to cover all skin, so you need a Tyvek suit, a head sock, a pair of cotton gloves, and you're going to need a pair of shoes, old shoes, because this is the way they're going to look when you get finished. And a full face respirator. Not a half face, but a full face respirator. There is no reason to cut corners in this area. All this stuff combined is less than $225, and it's just not worth the safety of your spray man. Okay folks, now I want to talk to you about the proper chemical temperature for spraying our cartridges. The best way I can describe it is like this. One part of our chemical is similar to maple syrup. When it gets cold, it gets too thick to spray through the mix tube. Except when I'm talking about cold, I'm talking about below 75 degrees. The best chemical temperature for operating our cartridge system is between 75 and 85 degrees. Now you can spray it on surfaces that are either colder or hotter than that, but the best operating temperature for the chemical is going to be between 75 and 85 degrees. Now, in the summertime, that's probably not going to be a problem, but in the wintertime, it could be an issue. So if you don't have a way to keep your cartridges warm at that temperature, then may I offer our cartridge warmer. This is our newly designed cartridge warmer. It has an extra safety backup. It will hold 12 cartridges, and it will keep your cartridges at the proper operating temperature. Okay, now I want to talk to you about prepping your cartridges before you get ready to spray. All of our cartridges are going to come wrapped like this. There'll be 6 in a case, and there'll be 6 mix tubes also in that case. The mix tube is going to consist of the main body, the retainer nut, and the spray tip. The spray tip slips down right over the very top of the mix tube, and it's designed to not to protrude through the top. Okay, now prepping your cartridge, you're going to have a cap. You're going to need to remove the divider plug. And then you take the mix tube in one hand and pull tightly so the retainer nut follows over the flanged area. Then you take that and you screw it down over the cartridge. One little quick note here, you need to make sure you get this on very tight, because if you develop a leak in this position here, you're going to end up with a bubble or a blemish in your product. It's not hard to fix, but if you do this right the first time, you only got to do it one time. We always put the cartridge in the gun label face down so you can see how much material you're using, so you know when to aim away from the surface at the very last minute. Now I want to go over some of the features of our new spray gun. This is a lighter spray gun than what we used before, so the weight is cut down almost 2 pounds. It has a couple of added features. One, it has a stroke speed knob here at the bottom, and then it has an adjustable atomization screw at the end. Now, anytime you order a gun from us, we're going to preset this here at the factory before we ship it to you, so you won't have to adjust this at all. But just wanted to show you those features. Now, up on the handle is the on and the forward and reverse button. One side's forward, one side's reverse. I'm going to demonstrate to you how that works now. You simply just hook the air hose up to the bottom. You push the forward reverse button into the forward position, and you pull the trigger, and you'll notice the pistons move forward. Then to retract them, you just hit the reverse button to pull it back, and they will reverse. Now, this yellow lever here is going to be your airflow to your atomization tip. So once you get ready to load the cartridge, that operates your airflow to the spray tip. Now, at that point, we're ready to load one of our cartridges into the gun. As I told you earlier, we always try to load the cartridges with the label face down. That way you can see how much chemical you're using. If you run this cartridge completely empty, you're going to also end up with a blemish or a blister in the bottom of that truck bed or whatever you're spraying. So we try to pay attention to how much chemical we're using and aim the cartridge outside the surface that we're spraying just before it ends. Now, to load it, you want to take the cartridge itself and slip it over the pistons, and then it locks into the front like that. Your cartridge, your atomization hose, I should say, hooks to the end of the spray tip by a simple push on. It's got a little slip ring collar right there. Okay, now you have your gun loaded, your cartridge is in, your atomization line is hooked up, you're ready to start spraying. Our cartridge chemical dries in 7 to 8 seconds. So once you pull this trigger, you need to hold the trigger in place until you expel the entire cartridge. Now, if you can't for some reason do that and you have to let off of the trigger, then you'll need to replace this mix tube, because as soon as you let off this trigger, it's going to start solidifying in the mix tube, and it's not going to it's not going to allow you to respray. Okay, there's two other items that we want to introduce. One of them is our bonding agent. This takes the place of any primer. If you have raw steel, you can use our bonding agent. You can wipe it on, or you can spray it on with a cup gun. This will keep you from having to prime any surface. Now, your metal or your steel does have to be clean. You can't just spray it over oil or oily, dirty metal. You do have to clean your metal. But good clean metal, our bonding agent, you're ready to spray. The next item we have is going to be our new improved aliphatic cartridges. Now, what is aliphatic? Aliphatic in the chemical business means it's a color that's not going to fade. Now, it's a good bit more expensive, but it's also available to you should you have a job or some kind of project that you need to spray something and not worry about discoloring or fading. So keep us in mind on our aliphatic cartridges, and the bonding agent is a must for raw steel. Okay guys, the next step is we want to make sure that our surface is prepared properly. I have two samples of steel. One's painted, one's bare metal. What you want to do first of all is clean all your metal before you start. Use MEK, lacquer thinner, isopropyl alcohol, either one of those will work. And then you're going to scuff it up. Here you'll be seeing us use a Teflon coated wire brush, cut brush on a grinder. You want to make sure you get a good profile in the metal. It needs some good sand scratches in it to give it something to bite to. After that, you want to turn around and wipe it and clean it again. Make sure you get all the dirt and debris from where you were sanding it, get that cleaned off. Now, the only difference between the painted metal and the bare steel is bare steel you've got to apply Perma-Coat's bonding agent, and you'll see us putting that on here. One thing about painted surfaces, if you get in and you start grinding it and the paint starts coming off in flakes or sheets, just remember that our coating's going to stick to the painted surface, and if you've got crappy paint on there, then it's going to peel up with the paint. So if it starts coming off in sheets, let's get that off, and any bare metal you apply the bonding agent. Perma-Coat is a strong, durable coating, but it's not going to stick to dirt or garbage. So guys, you don't need to cut corners in this step. You need to make sure you get it good and clean so our coating will stick good and you won't have any problems. It's best to do it right the first time, and then you only got to do it one time. Okay guys, we've got our surface prepped. We're ready to spray. What we're going to do is start loading the gun. So first thing you want to do, take your air hose. You're going to hook it to the air inlet. Make sure you got 90 pounds of pressure. Then we're going to take the cartridge. We're going to load it in the gun, label face down. Make sure the openings of the cartridge go over the cylinders. And it drops into the channel in the front. Then you're going to hook up your air hose to your spray tip. At the same time, just feel that your spray tip is even with the mix tube. Now, there is an air bubble in this cartridge. If you can see it, we'll move it around a little bit. That is a product of our filling machine. We've got to get that bubble out. So the first thing that we'll do when we get ready to spray is we're going to angle the gun just like this, so the air bubble is closest to the exit on the mix tube. It'll be the first thing out of the gun when we turn the air on. In the previous segment, I told you one of the most important things is your safety equipment. Make sure you got your Tyvek suit on, your duck shoes, good pair of cotton socks, so if you sweat, nothing drops on the surface you're going to spray. Cotton gloves, there again, in case you sweat, it won't drop out. Put your head sock on. Make sure you cover all skin. You'll have a little bit of exit hole here. Kind of look like the masked robber. Enough where you can see. If you suit up as tight as you can, want to make sure all our skin's covered. Then you take your full face respirator, and this is probably the part y'all all listening out for, where I can't talk anymore. So here we go. As you will notice here, I'm spraying the painted surface 4 times, which is best for impact resistance, and I'm spraying the raw steel 2 times, which is good for rust proofing. Now, if your front load drivers are so good that they never bounce a dumpster off a cab shield, you could use just 2 coats, but we recommend 4 coats for impact resistance. Okay, we finished. We completely expelled the last cartridge. One thing you do want to do is when you're spraying is keep an eye on the volume of chemical that you use, and just before it gets to the end, aim your gun away from your metal, because that last little spit's going to be unmixed material and it's going to do a bubble or a blister. That's why we mainly put this in with the label face down. Now, to take that cartridge out, your pistons are retracted. You pull your little collar back on the elbow, and that will come off of the mix tube. Lift the cartridge out. That's 100% disposable. You just throw it away. Then you load your next one in the same way we did the first one. Over the pistons, and hook your hose back up to your spray tip. Now we're ready to spray. Okay guys, I deliberately put a drop of water on here to show you what it would look like if the chemical came out unmixed, if you ran that bubble through it, if somebody dropped some sweat on it, any kind of moisture. As you can see, it blistered, it bubbled up pretty good. It's a simple fix. You take a knife, you cut around it, and cut the bubble out. Just get you a good edge. Kind of trim back any loose edges. Now you got to keep in mind we just sprayed this probably not 5 minutes ago. The adhesion process is still occurring. So we're going to scrape any little outside edges to make sure we get all the water off of it. Now you're going to still see this indentation when you do your touch-up coating, but your metal's going to be covered. If it's in a dumpster, it's not going to be a big concern of how that really looks. Up on a cab shield, it's going to be far enough away that you're really not going to notice it. It's going to protect your metal, and that's the main thing, is to keep it from rusting. Now after you've got that cleaned away, just to make sure you got all residue of any kind of chemical, sweat or whatever, take you some alcohol, some lacquer thinner, MEK, any kind of cleaner that you got that's a fast drying, and just take it and dab it in there real good. Just going to wipe it out, and you can wipe the surrounding area just to make sure. Give that just a few seconds to dry, and then you're ready to coat it again. What we're going to do is I'm going to swirl a little bit around this hole right here where we had to cut this out, and then we're going to overlap it to try to blend it. We're going to come on back a little bit further. In case you want to put a texture coat or something up on top of a cab shield for slip resistance, I'm going to show you how to do that as well. At this point, if you're not applying a texture coat, you can stop spraying, retract the pistons, and save the remaining chemical. Place the divider plug and cap back on the cartridge, place the cartridge in the warmer, and save for another job. This will be good for up to 6 months after it's opened. Now I know that'll work in your dumpsters and on your cab shields. I want to thank you for using Perma-Coat.